Hey everybody, so I feel like this is a video that I really have to make. It might be seen as controversial by some people because this is an issue that every country in the world has dealt with differently, but Sweden is especially unique because we've handled this entire coronavirus situation different than pretty much any country out there in the world. And I just want to talk about my personal experience of what it's been like living in Sweden during this strange time. And also, I just want to say that I'm not an expert, and I had made a video about the coronavirus before a few months ago, but this was actually before a lot of the countries even had a lockdown. So now it's kind of become much different, where Sweden's handled it much differently, never having an official lockdown, versus the US and my home country, where they've locked down once and now they're considering even locking down again because they're seeing more cases come up. So first off, let's talk a little bit about my experiences on how life has actually changed in Sweden. Well, a lot of people and a lot of companies have had workers work from home. So that is probably the biggest change that I've had in my life, is working from home. And because of that, the public transportation and the commutes are much less. There's much less people going to work in the morning. A lot of people are riding bikes to work. Our company still has a few people that go into the office from time to time. But for me, I've primarily been working from home, and I've been able to stay productive and do the things that I need to do for work. So that aspect of my life hasn't really changed too much because I'm fortunate enough to have a job where I can work from home. But a lot of jobs, they don't have that opportunity. Essential things like bus drivers, cashiers at grocery stores, and all of these types of things. And there are measures in place to try to help these people. So for example, the buses in Stockholm, they have the front of the bus roped off. So normally, during normal times, you would pay at the front of the bus when you're coming on the bus. And now they don't want that bus driver to have contact with people that are constantly coming on the bus all day. So they open up the back doors of the bus instead, so you enter the bus through the back. And same with grocery stores and pretty much any cashiers and checkout clerks. We have plastic protective signs at the grocery stores so that they're not constantly being breathed on by customers and those sorts of things. And there's a lot of things that are in place to really help ease and prevent. So it's not like life as normal as a lot of rumors are out there in the news and the media. There are a lot of measures. You'll see signs everywhere of, keep your distance, stay 2 meters away. People are very socially conscious of the issue. And I think for the most part, because Sweden has taken a more relaxed approach, people have a positive attitude towards following the guidelines. Now, with that being said, we haven't had official lockdowns and official quarantines like a lot of countries. So Sweden has had a bit of a higher death rate than most of the other countries in Europe. And this actually makes complete sense if you think about it, because all the other countries in Europe have had complete lockdowns. Although the numbers are worse in Sweden currently than a lot of other countries, the other countries are eventually going to have to let people out of their lockdowns, because that's a very hard thing to sustain for long periods of time. And there's fears that once these other countries start to let people out again, they could be at risk at experience a second wave. Whereas in Sweden, they don't have to change their lives all that much from the current system, and we're not as fearful as a second wave coming later on. Now, it is a sensitive topic because it's very sad to deal with people that are suffering from this disease and that ultimately die. It's very sad, especially if you or loved ones have this. And I'm in a completely unique position because none of my family is actually here in Sweden. My grandparents and people that I know that are really in that risk group, they're not in Sweden. So it's kind of a weird one for me because all of my loved ones that are really in that risk zone, they're not even in the country that has these really liberal policies around the coronavirus. One of the things I've noticed here in Sweden that's crazy about all this is, even though there are guidelines at restaurants and things, like for example, we're only supposed to have table service, so you're not supposed to have people standing and crowding in bars. You're not allowed to have more than a maximum number of people. They're spreading out tables, having space in between. Even with these guidelines and regulations, it can be a little bit weird seeing lots of people at bars and restaurants, even if they're not standing up and even if they are kind of spaced out from each other. In general, not a lot of people wear masks here as well, whereas in the home state, it is against the law to not wear a mask. So this is a pretty big difference in Sweden compared to how other countries have handled it. So what's my opinion on this? Well, I can definitely see both sides. From the one side, I understand that governments and countries are scared, and it's a scary thing. It's a disease that we hate, that it's spreading, and they're trying to do everything they can to prevent and minimize the spread. But at some point you have to ask, how long can you expect people to stay in social isolation, in quarantine, stay isolated from everybody? I mean, human beings are social creatures. I just think that hearing things like there's gonna be travel bans until December 31st, which is, months from now, or people are gonna be staying in quarantine for more months after being in quarantine for very many months. It's a very, very difficult situation, and I hate that there's so many people that are in the position. They're not able to travel, they're not able to do their life as normal, they're not able to enjoy the things that make them happy. I think that Sweden has taken a very lagom approach to this. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Swedish term lagom, it's not too much, not too little. I think that we have regulations and things in place to try to prevent the spread, but at the same time, people can somewhat continue with doing some of the things that they enjoy and trying to do it in a safe manner. But this is a controversial topic, and this is just my opinion, and I think we can all agree that the coronavirus is a terrible thing, especially if loved ones, get the virus, and none of us want this virus to spread, and it's so interesting that it's a political issue and it becomes such a heated topic in some countries. And for me, I gotta say, I respect the way that Sweden has handled it. I'm happy that I'm living in Sweden during this time. I'm not completely worried about the coronavirus, and I've been able to live my life and still enjoy my life during this time. I just really, really feel bad for the people that are in worse situations than the people that get the disease. So guys, this might be a bit controversial, and some of you may disagree with me. So try to keep it civil, but I'd love to hear your opinions in the comment section. But with that, stay safe everybody, and I'll see you in another video.